Hi, this is Diana, your sister, aunt, niece, cousin, depending on who you are. I love fall and Thanksgiving. Those of us who are older remember Thanksgivings at Grandma and Grandpa Dutcher's house in Parlier and at Rosemary and Eric's house in Fresno. I think that one of the best things about Thanksgiving were the old family stories. It was worth helping with the dishes after dinner so you could listen to Grandma, the aunts, and my mom talk in the kitchen. I still like to hear those family stories, and I'm still interested in family history. In fact, I've picked up the genealogy trail started by our grandparents. And just a couple of months ago, I made a fascinating discovery about our family, and it couldn't be more appropriate to share it with all of you today, November 24th, Thanksgiving 2011. So let's go back in time to what we call the first Thanksgiving.
It was early fall in the year 1621. The Pilgrims had come through a long and difficult winter. January and February were especially hard. The people did not know what to expect and were poorly prepared. Adequate shelter and comfort from the cold during the hardest months of winter were lacking. The people were also infected with scurvy and other diseases from their long voyage, and they died, sometimes 2 or 3 a day. When winter ended, only 53 of the original 102 colonists were still alive. Things turned around during the summer, and almost everyone had recovered their health. Crops had been planted, dwellings and outbuildings were being fit up for the coming winter, there was plenty of fish, fowl and game, and every family had good stores. The group had much to be thankful for, and with their small harvest being gathered for the coming year, they planned a celebration. Sitting around that first Thanksgiving table, among the 53 Pilgrim survivors, were 4 people that we Dutchers are related to: John Howland and Elizabeth Tilley, and John Alden and Priscilla Mullins. We descend from these ancestors through Lola Alice Daisy Young Dutcher. Lola Alice can trace her family roots all the way back to 1620 and beyond. But we want to start on September 16, 1620, the day the cargo ship Mayflower set sail from Plymouth, England for America. Grandma always said she came from good English stock, but we don't know if she knew about her Mayflower relatives. Let's take a closer look at the direct lines. Lola Alice was the daughter of William Young and Mary Teeter. William's parents were Hugh Young and Mary Anna Bosworth. Here we branch off to the Bosworth family and Mary Anna's parents, Hezekiah Bosworth and Huldah Pierce. Hezekiah was the son of Jabin Bosworth and Luna West. All the children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren of Jabin and Luna West Bosworth have 2 lines of Mayflower ancestry. Let's look at Jabin first. He was the son of David Bosworth and Mercy Strong. Both Jabin and his father David fought in the Revolutionary War. David's parents were John Bosworth and Elizabeth Toogood, and John was the son of Jonathan Bosworth and Hannah Howland. Hannah, Lola's great-great-great-great-great-grandmother, was the daughter of John Howland and Elizabeth Tilley. Luna West Bosworth was the daughter of Moses West and Jemima Eaton. The parents of Moses were Samuel West and Martha Delano Simmons, while Martha was born to John Simmons and Mercy Peabody. Mercy was the daughter of William Peabody and Elizabeth Alden. That makes Elizabeth Lola's great-great-great-great-great-great-grandmother, the daughter of John Alden and Priscilla Mullins. These 2 couples, John Howland and Elizabeth Tilley, and also John Alden and Priscilla Mullins, arrived on the Mayflower, and we are descended from them. Because of the records kept by the early colonists, a lot is known about our early ancestors and the Mayflower voyage. The Pilgrims were mostly religious separatists. Since the girls, Elizabeth 13 and Priscilla 17, were traveling with their families, we assume they were part of the separatist group. John Howland was traveling with the John Carver family as a manservant. John Alden was hired on in England as a barrel maker. They were allowed to decide whether to stay in the New World or return to England, and both decided to stay. The Mayflower set sail on September 15, 1620, from Plymouth, England. The former cargo ship was about 100 feet long and considered fairly large, but with 102 passengers plus crew, each family was allotted very little space. The 66-day voyage was frequently stormy. At one point, a main beam cracked and had to be repaired using a large iron screw. Our ancestor, John Halland, described as a lusty young man, came up on deck during one such storm and was blown overboard along with the sail. He had the presence of mind to catch hold of the topsail halyards, which hung overboard, until he was hauled up and gotten into the boat with the aid of a boat hook. The Mayflower first landed at Cape Cod in November of 1620, not Virginia, where they had a charter or permission to settle. The Pilgrims drew up an agreement stating they would stay together in a civil body politic, known as the Mayflower Compact. John Alden was the 7th signer, and John Howland was the 13th signer. The season was late, and supplies of food and water were low. The men went out exploring for a place to settle, and finally sailed across to Plymouth in late December. Here they landed, and the men started to build the colony. The women and girls remained living on the Mayflower for much of the time while the colony was being constructed in January, February, and March. Most of the Pilgrims felt that the bodies of girls were too weak to make the Mayflower or survive the hardships of building a colony, so parents decided to leave the girls and send for them once everything was built and more comfortable. Despite this belief that girls were weaker, 11 girls, ranging in ages from 1 to 17, did make the voyage with their families. Young girls proved to have the strongest bodies of all. The first winter, 75% of the women died. 50% of the men died. 36% of the boys died. But only 2 girls, 18%, died. Our ancestor, Elizabeth Tilley, lost her parents, brother, uncle and aunt, and cousins. John Carver, the first governor of the colony, took her in. The oldest girl in the Mayflower was our ancestor, Priscilla Mullins. Her parents and her brother died that first winter. We don't know which family took her in, but we do know that she spun wool and flax for the colony, taught children, and helped with the cooking. The Mayflower departed back for England on April 5, after the terrible first winter was over, leaving most of the girls orphaned. The Carvers, who took in Elizabeth Tilley, died just a few weeks after the Mayflower left to return to England, and John Halland took over as head of household. Once established in the colony, John Halland quickly rose to a position of responsibility and respectability. He was one of the 8 Plymouth undertakers who assumed the colony's debt. He also served as an assistant to the governor, as a member of many committees, and was placed in charge of the colony's fur trading post at Kennebec, Maine. Howland was also an important person in the Plymouth Church. John Howland married 16-year-old Elizabeth Tilley on 4 August 1623. They had 10 children. They count among their descendants such notables as Presidents Franklin D. Roosevelt and George W. Bush, actor Humphrey Bogart, Mormon Church founder Joseph Smith, and poet Ralph Waldo Emerson. John Howland died February 23, 1672 or 3, at the age of 80. The location of his grave is unknown, but it is presumed that he is buried on Burial Hill in Plymouth, Massachusetts. Elizabeth Tilley outlived her husband by 15 years. She died December 21, 1681, and is buried in a section of that town, which is now in East Providence, Rhode Island. John Alden also quickly rose up from common seaman status to a prominent member of the colony. He was elected an assistant to the governor and Plymouth court and was regularly re-elected. He also became involved in administering the trading activities of the colony on the Kennebec River. The Aldens, along with several other families, founded the town of Duxbury and took up residence there. Alden served as Duxbury's deputy to the Plymouth court, served on several committees, and sat on several councils of war. He also served as colony treasurer. About 1622 or 1623, John Alden married Priscilla Mullins. They also had 10 children, and can count among their descendants such people as President John Adams, Marilyn Monroe, Vice President Dan Quayle, poets Henry Wadsworth Longfellow and William Cullen Bryant, and Orson Welles. Priscilla is last recorded in the records in 1650, but oral tradition states that she died about 1680. John Alden died 12 September 1687 at the age of 89. They are buried in the Miles Standish Burial Ground in Duxbury, Massachusetts. As of today, November 24, 2011, the following are living Dutcher descendants of John and Elizabeth Tilley Howland and John and Priscilla Mullins Alden. Diana Lynn Dutcher Bowles, Rebecca Lynn, Amanda Alice Bowles Stevens, Heidi Ann Dutcher Stout, Callie Ann, Kirsten Marie, Kenneth E. Dutcher, Edward F. Dutcher Sr., Edward F. Dutcher Jr., Ryan, Adam, Allison, Timothy R. Dutcher, Luke, Scott, Donald Robinson Dutcher, Rinda Christine Dutcher Furtado, Corey Miller Rose, Allison, Emily, Ryan Miller, Susan Dutcher Clements, Jared Clements, Kurt Dutcher, Trista Dutcher White, Devin, Rory, Bo, Chris Dutcher.
As descendants of the original Mayflower Pilgrims, you are all eligible to belong to certain pilgrim societies. I've provided the web addresses for you, or just Google Mayflower Pilgrim Societies. I'll be happy to provide you with whatever proof or background you need. I hope this was as interesting for you as it was for me. I'll be sharing some more interesting tidbits about our family in the future, so stay tuned. And for now, I just want to wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving. Have a wonderful day together.